Hi, welcome to the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Stephen Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. The time of year, New Year's. New Year's, it brings about so many emotions. Thoughts about the past year, aspirations for doing some great things in the years ahead, New Year's resolutions, party time, fireworks, calendars. There are so many things that are evoked by this holiday. Floral art reflects all kinds of aspects of our culture, and therefore it should come as no surprise that we're going to be featuring in this video today a couple of ideas for New Year's designs. When I think of New Year's, I think in terms of the passage of time. And in order to get across that idea of the passage of time, notice what we have here. We have a vase arrangement. It's a lovely design. It happens to be an arrangement that is actually built on a clock. Yeah, think outside of the box. Why not use a clock and build your arrangement on that? Now, if you do something like this, we don't recommend you take a family heirloom that you treasure, that you've had forever, and that you're being very careful of. I picked a clock here that is inoperative, and therefore, if you're going to start attaching containers to a clock, I recommend it be something that you're not so concerned about the clock itself. It makes, however, a wonderful base, and by attaching our container to it, it themates our design for New Year's, and it definitely gets across the idea of passage of time, which is associated with this holiday. When we look at this design, we see some really neat things going on here. We've used a variety of different materials in this design. It's pretty, it's creative, it's very, very contemporary in feeling, but not way out. Starting at the top of this design, we happen to have some of our fantail willow. It's absolutely great stuff. It gives kind of a curve over here and here. We also have in this design some of our Australian greens. See them here, here along the side here, and going out over on that side. We also have in this arrangement some other materials that are kind of interesting, some tropical foliage here, here, and here, forming a little triangle working in towards the base. We also happen to have these are really cute, ornamental pineapples. Aren't they cute? They are really, really neat. Here, my viewer, we should take a more careful look at this because they are so neat, and we thought it would be fun to kind of include a couple of the ornamental pineapples in there. And then as we go towards the focal point of our design, we have lilies right here. They look very, very pretty. We have not only a full lily, but you'll notice a little bud. And then we have a few other things worked in the arrangement as well, flower-wise. We've got some of our roses working from the top, coming down here, feeding over along this side, and a couple of our Fujis over on this side. Our center area has got coverage on it. We're using some of our hypericum berries in here through the focal area, along with a little bit of our heather, and also some of our Spanish moss to cover our mechanics, because it's very, very important that we cover mechanics on our designs. Overall, it's a gorgeous design. It's very, very pretty. It gets across the idea of New Year's in a very, very nice way. And I can feel very comfortable when this presentation is over, placing this perhaps on my mantle or some other place, maybe in my living room, to reflect the theme and time of the year. I hope you enjoy it. Now, I'm not just going to stop at this point. Let's actually make one too. I'm going to take this off of the platform, my viewer, and let's move this, and let's do something that is going to be similar, not exactly the same, but similar. Just bear with me for a second while I move this. I have another clock here. However, the clock that I have here is a little bit more old school. What do you think, my viewer? This particular clock happens to be one that goes back a little bit longer. Yes, what we have here is an hourglass, an old-fashioned hourglass. And similarly to the last design, I've taken a container, attached it to the top of my hourglass. Again, it's attached. We've got some foam in there, and we're ready to start doing some very, very neat things from a design point of view. I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy it. I'm going to use similar materials in this design as we did in the last design. I'm going to start with some of our Australian greens. This stuff is very, very neat. It's almost like cast iron. It's just amazing stuff. And it comes in from our wholesaler. It's very, very seasonally appropriate to this time of the year. And I'm going to use this material, these Australian greens, to define the shape of my design in a similar manner to what we did when we played with the other design that I showed you a minute ago. So I'm going to place this. It's not going to be a teeny tiny design. And you'll notice that the whole concept here is to integrate our arrangement with our hourglass in a way that looks really neat and kind of fun. I'm also going to use some of my tropical foliages in this design as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of our tropical foliages. I can use it in the full variety. In other words, just use it as a leaf coming out to one side. Or I can bend it over and fold it. We show this particular technique to our students here at Rittner's. It's a very, very cool technique, and it gives a very, very interesting effect visually to our designs. So taking a few of our tropical leaves and bending them over and tying them in place, this is going to give a really, really neat effect to our arrangement. I'm going to take another one and place it over here slightly to one side so that we have another aspect of it. Notice I'm working my viewer from the outsides gradually in towards the center. In other words, we've created our shape here, and then we're gradually working in. I believe very strongly that floral designing should be quick, easy, and fun. And I think that in these videos that we've been presenting to you, you're getting a sense of that in terms of our whole approach here at Rittner's Floral School. We believe floral designing should be fun, enjoyable, and create a really neat effect. Let's take a lily and place a lily in here. It makes a wonderful, wonderful focal point. And just so that it's not lonely all by itself, I'm going to take another lily, excuse me, my viewer, while I cut my flower, and I'm going to place another lily just slightly out to one side. So we've established the overall parameters of our design. We have something as a focal point placed there. Now we need to do a little bit of fill-in. And to do that, I'm going to use a flower that's always a favorite. You never can go wrong with roses. We have some roses here. They are absolutely gorgeous. They actually are kind of a creamy white with just a little bit of a pink touch to them. They're absolutely amazing. So let's place these. These aren't huge roses. They're small heads, and they work very, very nicely in terms of what we're doing here. I'm placing these gradually coming in towards the center part of my design. In other words, I am playing with the concept of working around and towards my focal point here. I'm going to place another one over here. I see a little foliage that seems to be sticking out and kind of covering things here. Let's get rid of that so that we can see things a little bit more clearly. And then I'm going to continue placing some of my flowers, placing a few more of my roses out over here on the side. I'm going to gradually connect in with my roses to bring this thing together. And you can see, my viewer, this is coming along very, very nicely. Quick, easy, and fun. Let's take another rose. We've got some coming down here. We've got a couple coming in here. We need to connect over here in the center. So I'm going to connect one right over here. Now you can see this thing ties in very, very nicely for me. At this point, I have some choices to make because just as in the other arrangement, we did a little bit of cover and fill in towards the bottom and center. I'm going to use some of this stuff. This is wonderful material. This is called hypericum berries. It's very cheachy at the present time. People love them. And it is going to help me fill in and also add a touch of class to my design. And so I'm taking some of my hypericum berries, my viewer, and working some of them here and there. Notice that I've taken my hypericum and I placed a cluster here, and I placed a cluster here, but it almost feels like it's all kind of tied in together very, very nicely. I'm going to take a third little cluster of my hypericum berries, and I'm going to place them right over here. So it almost looks like we have a gentle curve of hypericum starting here, curving around, and then going over here. Isn't that pretty? It gives a nice effect, I think. Now, I do have mechanics that are showing. And so I want to make sure that when I say mechanic showing, I mean a little bit of my foam. And so I'm going to take some of my Spanish moss. We call this stuff Stephen hair here at Rittner's Floral School because it kind of reminds us of Dr. Steve's hair, what little he has left. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of encircle it, place it in here, attach it using some of my hairpins, and I'm interweaving some of it in towards the center of the design. Of course, my viewer, if I were going to be doing this seriously and finishing it off, I'd also place a little bit in the back as well. My students know that I'm very fussy about mechanics being nice and clean, but I think you can see that by taking a little of the Spanish moss and working it around here, in through here and around, that we're getting a really, really nice effect. We're covering our mechanics. This design, like the last one, is very, very contemporary in feeling, in the sense that it has contemporary styling to it. It's very chic, it's very with it, and it has the concept, again, let's get back to this thing of New Year. It has the concept of Happy New Year because it incorporates a timepiece, namely the hourglass, very, very nicely within it. Well, my viewer, we've covered a lot of ground here, haven't we? Happy New Year. New Year is a holiday like every other one, and we can enjoy it and celebrate it through the use of our flowers and floral art. You can see that by the use of our clock and our hourglass, we've been able to come up with some really neat effects on this demonstration. I hope that it gets you thinking in terms of doing things outside the box, using containers or things for containers you may not have thought of up till now. On behalf of all of us here at Rittner's Floral School, it was a pleasure to welcome you into our classroom today. We hope that you have a great new year and that all of your dreams and aspirations are met in the coming year. From all of us here at Rittner's Floral School, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. Happy New Year!